So with that, I will try to talk to you a little bit about our Comanche cultural way of life. And we do a lot of the cultural things in the modern day sense, but back when I was a child, we didn't have all of the modern things that the kids have now to work with. The things that we used to do our traditional tribal regalia and stuff were just a little bit different, because most of the things that we used for our attire was from the land and from the animals around us. And our regalia, as you call it, a lot of people say costume, and that makes me cringe. That's like Halloween costume. And that's not what our clothing is. It's our regalia, our dress. So, this is my Comanche dress. So, a lot of my storytelling is in Comanche. So I'm having difficulty with the English language trying to tell these stories in English, but I'll do my best. And so there are things that we do to make our lives easier. And back when they had the buffalo, I always called it in my class. I was teaching the Comanche language. In fact, I was the first linguist to teach a native language in a public school system. And when I started teaching, they had me written down, not as a teacher, but as an instructor of a foreign language. And I thought that was so funny when they saw how they had it written up for, on my employment status as a teacher. I was an instructor of the Comanche language, which is a foreign language. And I started laughing because I thought, wow, I come around the world to come back to teach a foreign language, which is my language, in the public school system. So I thought that was odd, and I thought it was funny. But I have had the opportunity to teach the Comanche language for 8 years in Elgin Public School System we're about 18 miles out of Lawton, Oklahoma. And most of my students were Caucasian, some were African American, and other tribal members from other tribes. And I don't think I had 3 or 4 or maybe 5 Comanche children in my class at one time. But it was real interesting because all these children were very interested in learning the Comanche language. And to this day, it's been a while since I did that. I retired about 4 years ago from the school system because I had so many other obligations going. And I was also the first language teacher or instructor at the Comanche Nation College. And I taught the Comanche language there, and I was starting to do an immersion. But I had so many other things going on, and I was working with the linguist to formulate our dictionary. We do have a Comanche dictionary. And it's really not that hard to learn a language if you're interested in it. First, you have to be interested. It's not a hard language. It's like learning Spanish or any other language. And most of my stories that I tell they have a moral to them. I'll tell you a short story about 2 little boys. This is one of my favorites because, little boys are mischievous when they're about 5 or 6, 4 or 5 or 6 in that age group there. And these 2 little boys that I want to tell you about are in that age group. So their grandmother was watching them. They're supposed to be right there close by and help her. Well, they're supposed to be gathering wood and doing chores for her to help her at the camp. So she told them they wanted to go play for a while, so she told them they could go play. Said, "Keta pa kumiado, tamaku okwet." She told them, "Don't go near the water because it's running too fast. It's swift." So she told them they could go play, but stay away from the water. So they took off, and the one little boy kept wanting to go to the river. He wanted to go play in the water, and he kept insisting. This other boy wanted to go up the hill, and he wanted to go exploring. So this little bitty one kept saying, "I want to go play in the water. Pakna nohi pasuk white." So the other one said, "Keta pa kumiara, ta kaku tsaraita weka keta pa kumiara." So anyway, and I'm telling you this in Comanche. Is it okay if I speak in Comanche and let y'all know what I'm saying? Because anyway, the older boy told him, "Grandma told us not to go near the water." So he said, and so the other little guy he was kind of being rebellious, you know. So he said, "Well, we'll go by the older one told him, "Pizza tau kimchi pa kumiaro, no, let's go over here first and we'll come back and we'll play in the water if you still want to." So he said, "Okay." So they were going down through there was a little kind of a valley there by the water. And he wanted to go look for berries. So he said, he wants to go he wanted to go pick some berries to eat. So that little one said, "Okay." He said, "Ha, miarau." And he said, "Pisa tau kimchi nohito pak." And he said, "Okay." And in Numunu, he said, "Ha," that means yes. So they went down through the kind of a little gorge there, and they got a little ways up the gorge, and they were kind of looking around, looking through the woods there, and that little oldest one heard something going on, you know, making noise up ahead of them, and there was a kind of a little slope there. So he said, "Let's go over there and, you know, see what's on the other side over there." So they kind of took off that way. Sura said, "Sukut, sohobi tu miasi sura." No kiahina wasi got. They were looking for something up on the other side of the hill. So anyway, when they got on the other side of the hill, they saw all these animals, all these horses in this valley, wild horses. Oh, they were so excited about that. And they wanted, that oldest one, he was just at the age where he wanted to be a hunter. He was trying to be a big guy. So anyways, his bright idea was to try to capture a little pony. And that little guy still wanted to go back and play in the water. He said, "No, miara kapitsa tapako no ipasugwaita kena puki sugwaita." And he said, "Nada yakumara taihanito," you know, he was afraid of the big horses. But the older one said, "Kena mari kuhuyad." He wasn't scared of them, he said. "Pukuna ya miaroi." So he got on his hands and knees and he was crawling towards those horses. Well, that little guy turned around and said, "Miarana kena umai mia pasugwat." He said, "I'm not going with you over there." He was scared to go by those horses. So he said, "Pizza na miaro." And that older one tried to go to the horses, and he got up close to the horses and they all started running. Sura unaki says, "Sura nuran, sura puku oyet nuran." Nadia Yaku says, "Sura nuramia." They raised all kinds of dust and everything where that little guy couldn't see him. So anyway, he said, he was laying there after everything, the dust settled, that little one was gone. And he got scared. He said, uh-oh. He to himself, he was thinking that little guy might have went to the creek and got hurt or something. So he turned around. So Pizza says, "Suda sukuhunu bikum nukin." Suka pataka wekit says, "Suda hunu to mian." Sure enough, that little guy was down at the creek. He had already gotten in the water. He was wading around in the edge of the water. And he had leggings on. You know, back in those days, we didn't have cloth. They didn't have material to make clothes out of or stores to buy shoes. They had Indian moccasins like these made out of leather, what we call elk skin or deer skin. And, you know, when they get wet, they get hard and when they start drying. Anyway, that littlest one was in the water. It was all wet and everything up to his, almost up to his waist. And his older brother came. He said, "I told you not to go and get a sparkle ika pasuwa arawikat." And that little guy said, start crying because he was all wet. He was scared to go home to his grandma. He said, "Tai wo pai tu ta kaku tarai wo pai tu." Hakane said, "Ta nahu tu." And that little guy said, "Grandma's gonna whip us. She's gonna spank us. I don't want to go back." Kena mi apasuwa ta kaku ta na wo pai tu. And he said, "No," and I said, "No, and let her spank you because you did something wrong, you know. You like he deserved to get spanked because he was wrong." So anyway, he grabbed him and but Pabia says Suda pizza pakaniko pakaku wakatu tsakan. He took him back to his grandma, and he was standing before. He said, "Kaku itatsa pak ika," and he told his grandma that little guy got in the water. Yeah, Nancy yake nawuni a kwasusa some of it is all wet, you know. She said, "Gena wo pai white." She said, "I'm not going to spank you. Anasasi kakwaso suni han hutoi." She's going to make him wear those clothes all day till they get dry. And later on that day, he said, it's dry, and there was sun drying his clothes, and he come to her, he was crying, "Kaku, aina nesukata, itasana kwasu, nada ya nesukata." His legs were chafing because of that leather getting hard. She said, "No, and I hinahanit, that's what you get for not minding. Mek onaka kwasu ahan." So she made him go change his clothes. So the moral of that story is the children have to mind. If they don't mind, they have to be punished or get scolded. And that was the moral to that story was Grandma didn't punish him. She just let him know that if you don't listen, something can happen to you. So all our little stories that we tell our little kids have morals to them, or things that are for their safety or to their precaution. So that was the moral to that little story. Numunu Voices, Sura Urakaku, she said, she put him to bed without supper, made him take those clothes off, hang them up to dry, and she said, "Kana tuka white, si peskuraka na tuka, I'm not going to eat anything till tomorrow morning." So that little boy, because he didn't mind and he didn't behave himself, he had to wear those white clothes till they dried. And when he took them off and changed, then she made him go to bed without supper. That's a lot of doing, but that was one way to get him to learn how to mind and listen when he's told not to do something. Because she told him, "You could have drowned in that water. You could have been washed away. So we'd never see you again. You'd be gone from us." So that was what the grandma told the little boy. And the older one kind of said, "Well, he told me so. I told you so." Grandma said, "Don't do that." Now, she said, "I would have no brother if you got washed down the river." So that little guy got real quiet and went to bed. So that's the end of that story. So I don't know how many stories or how long I'm supposed to sit here, but if y'all want to hear another one, I can tell you one about a little girl. So, and there's a lot of my little stories are about the children. Where grandmothers they sit around at night. Of course, back there they didn't have, that was the entertainment, because the parents would sit around and tell stories to the children. The grandparents would teach them things, teach them how to make things. At night, when everybody's quiet, the older ladies would teach the little girls how to make moccasins, or show them how they do their buckskins, to soften the buckskin to make a dress or something. They're always teaching them something. There was always something that they had to learn, even as far as learning how to go out and gather the right kind of wood for certain things. There's certain kind of wood that you use that's going to build a good fire that's going to last a long time, and there's certain kind of wood that you get that just can burn real fast, and get things done real quick. And then also there's a kind of wood that they burn for like smoking. So there's all kinds of things that our elders try to teach these young kids. So there's always some kind of lesson being taught by somebody. A lot of the elder women that at my age group, they would be the ones that would be the storytelling or do some of the light work that the other younger women would be doing. The younger women would be teaching the teenager, the young adult women, how to go out and brain tan or tan the hides for their clothing. There was always something important going on that meant their livelihood. And I was telling my kids in class when we're having class that the buffalo back in those days, to me, I look at it as that was our Comanche Walmart, because everything that we needed, we got. That one buffalo furnished everything you needed. It furnished your home. It furnished the hides for your teepee. It furnished the robe for your bed. It furnished the robes to winter wear for your coat or your overcoat. And the meat is dried and preserved for the winter. They dry it and they make ta'o out of it and hang it out and let it dry, and they put it away and it lasts for a long time, like your beef jerky. And then all the bones in the buffalo are used for something. You use them for utensils, and they use them also for backpacks or back braces, or even they use them to make their saddles. They even use part of the backbones to make saddles for their horses. And some of the horns are used for like ladles or for scoops. Every little bit of the animal is used for some purpose, and it's a supply that just like the sinew is used for sewing thread, and there's a part of the bone that is used as sharp bones that they whittle down with the flintstone or with the stone. They whittle it down to make it sharp so they could use it as a needle to penetrate the fabric, the skin, when they're making the dresses or the boots or the leggings for the men. All these things come, and even like the hooves of the animal are used. They used to make glue. How in the world did they know how to make glue? Always fascinates me to think the things that they knew to use before the settlement of this country by outsiders. They had all kinds of means and ways to do things before I would say the coming of the modern age or new age or whatever you want to call it, when the settlers came in, and they didn't have pots and pans, but they used just like with the stomach of the buffalo, they used that to carry their water in. It was a water bucket, water container. And there's different things on the buffalo that they use for different things. And it always amazed me how they took and knew just what they used those certain things for, and they didn't waste anything from that animal. When they got through with that, there was nothing left that was not edible or used for some purpose. When they got through butchering a buffalo, you could not tell that there was any loss of anything other than when they cleaned the animal, of course, the waste that they had to clean out of it. And when I was a little girl, I used to help my grandma, because I was raised by my grandparents. My great-grandmother was she was a medicine woman. And we used to have people come, and we lived way out there in the mountains, foothills of the mountains, at Wichita Mountains. And you had to drive quite a ways to come to where we lived. Now, every time my grandpa butchered, we would have people coming on wagon and team for miles and miles to come and stay for a few days because we had meat. How did these people know to get there? They didn't have telephones or telegraph or whatever. How did they know? I always wondered, how did they, Grandma, Kaku, how can I say, Gimai, they come to stay for a while? So I always thought that was so much fun because I was the only little girl there. I was just around elders when I was little, like these kids here. And I would sit and watch them. And a lot of times they would come and stay because my grandma was a medicine woman. They would come for healing. And when we had them, we had pallets on our porch. That was way back, oh gosh, when I was a kid, we had wagon and team. My first experience with a car at all was a Model A little coupe my grandpa bought. And I can't really tell you that it was a strange thing to me to have that car. But I liked to go on the wagon and team because it would take us half a day to go to town. We only went once ever so often to go to town to buy our supplies. Getting back to this part about the buffalo and about beef and about all these things, that's how we learned. The elders would tell us all these things, and show us what they did so that we would know how to butcher and stuff. Even in the entrails of the cow or the buffalo, we preserved all those things. And even now, you go to the grocery market, you see where they sell tripe and they sell the entrails in the Walmart stores. Back when I was a kid, when we butchered, it took a lot of time to clean that up and fix it up to where it was edible. So it's really something now in the modern age that they still have the same kind of food that we had when back then in that time. So all the regalia that we wear, we learned from our grandparents teaching and bringing on down. And these dresses that we wear, they're made out of elk skin and deer skin. And of course we have modernized everything where we have the beads and used to be nothing but trader beads. If you see some of those dresses and clothes upstairs in the museum, you'll see the difference in the way, the style of the clothes that are made. And there's a whole different type of beads and how the things are put together, and it's really interesting. You can go up and check those out, and it's really something to see. So y'all have a good day and enjoy yourselves, and I hope what little bit I helped talk about was interesting for you to hear. And I'm just really, really thrilled that I was able to be a part of the cultural, preservation. I want to always be speaking in my language, and I enjoy being able to share that as much as I can. But unfortunately, we are losing our elders to the point where we have very few that speak our language fluently anymore. And it's kind of hard because I don't really have anybody to carry on a conversation with. And it makes it hard for me because I want to speak my language. And who is going to listen to me or who's going to answer me back when I talk to them? So that's kind of a sad situation, and I think that's the way with most languages at this point. Other nationalities are losing their languages too because of the younger generation are not really wanting to carry it on. And I wish there was more of that input from our young people to want to carry on their cultural history. So I'm trying to help with my tribe as much as I can to further their knowledge of as much of it as I know and that was taught to me, and to share and to continue for the survival of our people. And I always say, if your language dies and you don't have a language anymore, you're not a people. And I think that speaks for all our nationalities, not just our Comanche people. So if you have a language, and if you're a Scottish, Gaelic, or Spanish, or whatever your nationality, and if you don't speak it, it'd be a good idea to try to learn some little bit about it. Because my daughter, I have a daughter that lives upstate, and her mother-in-law and father-in-law were Irish, and they spoke Gaelic. Now, they're gone, and none of their children speak it, and they don't know anyone that speaks it. So that's just one of those things, and it would really be nice to have people to start realizing across the world, really. There's so many languages that are out there that are being lost because of lack of interest. So I keep promoting that. That's one of the things I always want to promote is learn your nationality, learn who you are, to dig in and find out who you are, where you come from, and what your culture is, whatever it is. Because every nation and every country has beautiful, beautiful language, beautiful culture, and even the way they dress, the different cultural dress. It's amazing to me when I see some of these people in their native dress. It is beautiful. So I just want to share that with any of y'all that are interested in trying to remain true to where you come from and your nationalities. So I'm sure that some of you are interested, or you wouldn't be in here to find out all these things. And there's so many interesting things to see here. There's a lot of our Comanche. We are very strong and adamant about keeping our language and our contact with the horses and the animals. And my grandma used to say, when you're real quiet and you pay attention, yukar, manakika, if you be real still and real patient and real quiet, you're going to hear things and you're going to see things that you wouldn't, if you don't pay attention, you'll be passing it by. If you don't believe that, sometime just sit down somewhere, wherever you're at. Sit down and be quiet for a minute. Somehow, somewhere, there's going to be a contact with it could be a little ant. It could be a little ant crawling across there, or a little a centipede, or it could even be a little bird that will communicate, or in a way that you're going to know that is what you needed to hear or see. Especially if you go outside or sit out under a tree or something somewhere, and just sit there and be quiet. They're going to hear things and see things that you never ever realized were there because we're too busy out here running around doing other things. We've lost that communication with our animals and with our birds, with all of this, because there's a spiritual connection there that's being lost or left out. I personally am strongly committed to my spiritual strength. I know that there's things that I know that I did not do myself. Every one of us has a gift from the Almighty, a special uniqueness about each and every one of us that is a special thing for us alone. I'm talking about everybody out there in the audience, talking about everybody that's walking this earth that breathes and is alive. The Almighty has given each and every one of us something unique and special about us. The gift is yours, and a lot of people don't understand it. They don't take time to realize it. But there are some people that have gone and found their talents and that have done beautiful things with it. So if you want to do that and take time to sit there somewhere sometime and just savor the beauty and the oneness with you and everything in your surrounding, that is an awesome thing. It's a quiet spiritual contact with all things in life. And we can all do that. It's not just for one person. Anyone can do that. If you take time and give yourself that opportunity to just sit and savor that, hey, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm breathing. Did you know that just to look out there and see someone, do you know that that's a miracle? You can see. You can get up and walk around. You can do things. Don't you realize that you're a miracle walking around here? That can't be replaced, can it? You're breathing. You're able to do these things. That is an awesome, awesome, beautiful thing that we all take for granted. So I'm just passing something on that I feel like is so easy for us to do, but we have to sit and be patient and take time. Awesome. Awesome that we all are uniquely special people in this world. What we live and do with our lives is special and unique and different. So I will let y'all go now. I think I'm supposed to let y'all go. Am I?
Yeah, the flute players are coming in.
And the flute players are going to play y'all some beautiful music. And just close your eyes and listen to it and enjoy the music. Thank y'all so much for your time, and I just so enjoyed visiting and sharing. We are very unique and Jesus. Say ura. Everybody say ura. That means thank you. That means thank you in Comanche. You can say another word, but that's going to mean hello. Say marahwe. Marahwe. Yeah, you're saying Comanche. How about that? Y'all have a good day.